Delicate Arch is one of the most iconic natural landmarks in the world. The arch is immediately recognized and associated with the southwestern United States and Arches National Park. Within Arches is an astonishing 2,000 plus identified arches. Beyond Delicate Arch, there are many other well-known arches, some that span great distances that seem to defy gravity. Yet often unmentioned here are the panoramic landscapes within and surrounding the park's protective borders. It's no wonder that visitors here rush about the park trying to see and do everything, only to be frustrated and exhausted at the end of the day. Join us as we take you to the preeminent arches and to the must-do hikes within this park. In addition to these scrumptious knowledge nuggets, we'll identify several fabulous locations which offer safe and easy-to-reach nighttime photography locations, plus inform you of the park's entrance pass requirements and touch upon the park's camping prospects. Arches is arguably the second best known of Utah's mighty 5 big national parks, in large part due to Delicate Arch. Many of its approximately 1.5 million visitors per year are international guests, attesting to the breadth of its fame. Zion was the first designated of the Big Five and the second most visited of all of Utah's parks. Arches is not a huge park at a little bit over 76,000 acres. It is the second smallest of Utah's Big Five and in the bottom third of all national parks. Our original travel plans for the summer did not include traveling to Arches. However, I noticed how close we were while visiting Black Canyon of the Gunnison, and I decided that the addition of another 190 miles was well worth the trek.
So actually you see that sign.
As there is a single entrance to Arches, trying to enter during the prime hours of the day requires you to be patient. It'll be about a 30-minute wait before you reach the gate. The price for the park pass is $30. If you will travel to another 2 parks within a year, it is worth purchasing the early pass at $80. These can be purchased at the gate or online.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Hi.
Very well.
Do you have a timed entry reservation?
No.
Okay, so you do need a reservation to enter this park from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Oh my
I'll give you
gosh.
some information on how to make one of those. You can do it either online or you can call the phone number.
We have been to Arches a couple of times and didn't check the National Park Service website to find out if there are any new regulations to enter the park. The moral is, don't BS. Check the park's website for the latest requirements. Access to the park now requires 2 passes. The first is the long-standing entrance fee. The second is new, and it is the timed entry reservation. To purchase them, go online to recreation.gov and enter Arches into the search box. This brings up a list of items for Arches. Select the time entry option. This pops up a second page, which is where you will complete the purchase. Enter your target date and select from the time drop-down the earliest available time. Pay the amount shown and print out or download the ticket. We turn around and following our own instructions, we acquire a 2 o'clock entry ticket.
2 o'clock.
Done right, we re-enter, handing over our park pass, driver's license, and phone displaying our entry ticket. The attendant scans the park pass and entry ticket, and in we go, whereupon we head straight to the visitor center.
Hello. How are you today? Doing well. Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
The park has a single visitor center. It is a modern facility having been opened in 2005. It replaced the first built-for-purpose center, which opened originally in 1960. The 1960 building replaced the initial visitor center that was created by repurposing a storage building. This building was acquired from the park's departing CCC, and after remodeling, it opened to the public in 1939. This facility was not located on the spot, but resided within the windows portion of the park. The current building's design is a modern open arrangement and is somewhat aseptic facility. We leave the visitor center and head straight to the farthest paved location in the park. There is a primitive road, Salt Valley Road, which leads to a remote location in the park. Only consider taking this road if you plan to spend multiple days at the park. We start at Devil's Garden because this location takes the most energy and time to explore. Our aim in this video is to share our experiences, as well as to provide you recommendations in order to optimize your exploring this park. If this is your first trek to Arches, you'll be tempted to stop at every location and explore. If you are like most people and have allocated only a day or two to take in Arches, avoid trying to see everything. The park has over 2,000 known arches within its borders, and you'll end up seeing a lot of forgettable places and just get exhausted. There are a few key stops which we show you, as well as the recommended order to observe them in. The first pullouts are for the Moab Fault. While the purist will find this interesting, it is very hard to see. To see evidence of the fault, look across Highway 191 at the ridge parallel to the road. This section of rock is 140 million years older than the road on which you are driving. The Moab Fault Line is the demarcation where the land opposite you previously rose up more than a half mile above this side. While interesting, it pales in comparison to what you are about to see. Shortly thereafter is a pullout for the La Salle Mountains. Again, keep moving, we show you a much better spot just ahead. The first place of note is the location known as Park Avenue. The pullout on your left leads to an area that reminds one of Monument Valley, and to early visitors, it emoted reflections of the tall buildings lining city streets. There is a short hiking trail that travels the length of the canyon. However, in my opinion, the best views are found at the beginning and ending of the trail. Skip the hike and save the hour for other activities. Shortly after passing the Park Avenue parking lot, to the right side of the road is the La Salle Mountains pullout. If you want to grab some pictures of the snow-capped mountains, this is one of the better views of them within the park. They are still pretty far away, and you'll need a pretty good telephoto lens to bring the mountains more into view. Directly ahead now are some of the best monoliths in the park, the three gossips on the left and the organ to your right. At approximately 14 miles beyond the visitor center, you come to the fiery furnace area. This is another great place to stop and capture a picture of the La Salle Mountains. Here, your shot will have some interesting elements in the foreground. Note, hiking in the fiery furnace region requires obtaining a hiking permit at the visitor center. The Park Service preference is that you hike here accompanied by a ranger. The ranger-led tours are 2 miles in length and requires around 3 hours to complete. Children under 5 are not allowed. Shortly ahead is Sand Dune Arch. My recommendation is to pass on stopping here and to continue on to Devil's Garden. 3 of the best arches in the park are at this location, and you'll want to take your time at each of these locations. Skyline Arch is a nice arch in that it is so easy to get to, but it does pale in comparison to those we are taking you to within the Devil's Garden region. If you are pressed for time, continue on. Shortly ahead is the road leading to the campgrounds. It is a limited development campground, which RVers will understand this implication. Sites are paved and range in length from 20 to 40 feet. The max RV length allowed is 40 feet. Sites can be reserved on recreation.gov for the window between March 1st and October 31st. As you might expect, sites sell out early and the park is always full throughout the summer. We have now driven a little more than 18 miles and have finally reached the Devil's Garden parking lot and ready ourselves to head out to the Devil's Garden hiking trail.
God, that is good. We're taking you home. All right.
Oh my God, he's good. He's great.
He's got practice out here, but one more. This is the
Hold
last
on,
one.
let me do. Oh,
This is the last
hold
one.
on, hold on. Look, this one.
God, that is
It's good. We're taking you home.
What?
What's your name? What's your name? Roberto.
Loading up with several quarts of water, we prepare to head out to Devil's Garden Trail and see several great arches, beginning with my favorite arch in the entire park.
To answer your question,
Hello.
We are pretty chatty hikers. We do say hello to most people as we pass by and wish them to have a good day. Sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't. The initial leg of the trail, which extends up to Landscape Arch, is a manicured trail. This is 9/10 of a mile. Beyond this point, the trail becomes a much more challenging hike.
Where you been?
Access to arches within the park is largely unrestricted. This is due in part to the National Park Service measuring the stability of the arch. One arch that you cannot stand within its arch is Landscape Arch. It is partly to protect the arch, but as well to protect visitors.
Do that arch.
yep.
Woohoo.
First,
Yep.
this one I love.
This is Landscape Arch.
Arches do break and or lose portions of their rock structure. Thankfully, this is infrequent and not very impactful. An exception is Landscape Arch, when, in 1991, a huge 60-foot-long chunk broke free, and where it once resided can be seen on the far right side of the arch.
1991.
September 1st, 1991.
At 306 feet long, the longest in the park, the tiny tentacle of Landscape Arch seems to defy gravity.
My favorite arch. Check this out.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
Beyond Landscape Arch, the trail does become significantly more challenging, but, in my humble opinion, a lot more fun too.
Check out up. Up this.
Departing Landscape Arch, you're going to go up over a sandstone rib. At the top of this rib, turn around and look backwards. The view is amazing. A short distance beyond Landscape Arch is a Y branch trail. For very little effort and time, you will see two unique and unforgettable arches. I recommend heading to Partition Arch first and concluding with Navajo Arch. These are my third and fourth favorite arches in the park. I just heard a hummingbird.
Should be just those flowers up there.
Yep.
That was just a spring. Yeah. This reminds me of that one in Phoenix.
This section of the Devil's Garden Trail requires that you have trail-worthy shoes, wear sun protection, and have plenty of drinking water with you.
I love the shady areas.
You won't get lost on this trail, but you can suffer from heat exhaustion, so undertake the proper precautions to safeguard yourself. Backtracking to the Y intersection, we now head off to Navajo Arch. This short leg presents a unique opportunity to see the initial stages of an arch forming. Before you, you see the pitting of large blocks of sandstone. As the pits grow and join, this action will eventually become an arch.
Thank you.
In winter, snowmelt pools and fractures and other cavities, then freezes, expands, and breaks off chunks of the sandstone, creating these holes that you see before you.
Obviously, this was water that did that.
surprised not to see. That's the real. You can see everybody's taking pictures now.
He's like, up now your water's leaking again. Give us a peace sign. We can't see your face. All right. Come on.
Ahead is Navajo Arch. While the arch itself is underwhelming, passing through it, you enter into a kind of open cave, if there is such a thing. There is a noticeable coolness and quiet as you pass through the opening. There is a very strong sense of calmness and peacefulness as you pass underneath the arch. You won't get this with any other arch. It's what makes this one so special.
Wow.
Returning from the Y Spur Trail, we are back on the main trail. There is a little under a mile to travel to reach the Double O Arch now. This section of the trail is where you are required to traverse some elevated sandstone fins. This can cause some fear in those people who struggle with heights. While on the fins, you get wonderful views out across the spires within the Devil's Garden. The trail eventually winds around and through some of these spires.
Where to go? Oh, this way.
This is where it gets a little dicey if you're afraid of heights.
That was the trail. It's not too far on either side now. Yeah, you did great at it. I don't know why you wouldn't like it. Oh. So, what's over there?
Just
Is it nice? Are we doing both sides or just this one? Okay. We'll see it on the way back probably.
Blue, some of the haze.
Uh-huh.
And there's actually streaks of blue and purple in those mountains.
Huh.
There it is, Double O Arch. Besides being unique in appearance, before the arch pair is an area that is a lot like a natural garden. It makes a great spot to go down, traverse the arch, and eat lunch before returning to the parking lot. We, however, are not returning to the parking lot, but continuing the remaining loop portion of the trail.
Really pretty.
It is. We are completing the loop because we love to hike. However, most of you should return back to the parking lot from Double O Arch. The remaining loop appeals to those people who enjoy being challenged by a hike. This remaining section requires some rock climbing, trail finding, and grinding through long sections of loose sand. While there is another arch that you can view if you complete the loop, Private Arch, we found it to be pretty underwhelming. Hopefully you have some energy left in your legs after the hike to Double O Arch, and you've brought some food with you, because I'm sure you'll be hungry. From here we head back into the park and take the road which leads to Wolfe Ranch parking lot. Our arrival on this day is late afternoon, and we find the parking lot is about 2/3 empty, which means we'll not have a lot of people with us at Delicate Arch. Knowing this, we take a little more time at Wolfe Ranch. Wolfe Ranch. In 1898, a nagging leg injury from the Civil War prompted 69-year-old John Wesley Wolfe to venture here with his oldest son Fred, leaving his wife and 3 of his children behind. The two settled here and carved out a rough existence on a 100-plus acre cattle ranch. In 1906, John's daughter, Flora, arrived with her husband, Ed Stanley, and 2 children. Flora was appalled by the living conditions and demanded they build a better cabin. This is the building you see before you.
It's a root cellar. It's where you kept your food and stuff. It was kind of cool.
Just behind Wolfe's ranch house is a nice block of sandstone covered with petroglyphs. Be sure to see these as well. Since implementing the timed entry, Arch's visitation is now about 400,000 from its peak year. I don't know if this is coincidental or causal, but when we arrived at Wolfe Ranch parking lot, there were plenty of available parking spots. In fact, we visited 3 different times, and each time there was available parking, which we were pleasantly surprised by this fact. This is the most desirable hike and point of interest in the park. People get very excited and rush to get to the arch. It is a 1.5-mile hike, mostly uphill, and at times the crowd does take on the appearance of a busy anthill. Relax, take your time, enjoy the hike, and ignore the people blasting by you. The arch will still be there when you get there.
Everybody in got shocked.
I know I nabbed it.
If you have timed your visit to when the moon is full, then try to arrive here around 90 minutes or so before the moon rises. Getting pictures of the moon through and around Delicate Arch is a photography must-do. If you do shoot for the nighttime shot, be sure to bring a flashlight with you, as the return trip in the dark can be dangerous. Departing Delicate Arch, we head to the Windows region. At this point, if you have followed on our same path, you've hiked around 12 miles, and you're not likely looking forward to heading out on any long treks. The Windows region places the parking area right atop the arches, thus minimizing additional walking. The tallest arch in the park is found here, and it is probably the second most famous arch in the park, and perhaps the best place for getting a night sky shot in conjunction with a view of an arch. Double Arch is jaw-dropping huge. Plus, you can climb inside this miracle of nature. One thing you probably won't be able to do is to get a picture with no one inside the arch. It is almost always occupied. Opposite Double Arch are several well-known arches, including north and south window arches, turret arch. While these are nice, you've now seen many other arches that are far more impressive. In addition to the many amazing arches are several outstanding rock figures. My favorite is the 3 Gossips. I find it very easy to see human figures in these formations. Likely more photographed and better known is Balanced Rock. I personally feel it is much better to photograph this structure framed by the moon, or better still, on moonless night and with the Milky Way aligned. As night photography is a specialty art, you will probably already be aware to have a flashlight or 2 with you, ideally one with red lighting, as this doesn't destroy your night vision. Be sure someone knows where you are and when you'll be back. Thank you for watching our video. We very much appreciate you taking your time to join us on our travels. If you do plan on visiting Arches, you may also want to watch our video on the nearby Canyonlands National Park.